plan.
So I mean, my understanding of the chemtrails is that it's like certain heavy metals that block out UV, which those heavy metals are like known to cause all sorts of like birth defects and stuff like that.
Do
But
these heavy metals come down too?
yeah, I
Yeah,
think they
they
do.
do.
And so we
Just in the
breathe them, and
We
Yeah.
breathe them. They pollute the
we
soil.
eat them, we drink them, we do all that.
Everything.
Yep.
In fact, I've been told in places in Hawaii. Now I don't know why they sprayed Hawaii so heavily for so many years, but their crops are actually yielding a lot less because of these heavy metals in the soil. And so they've had people go down and they test these things. You know, they'll take soil samples and stuff, and they're just testing like really, really high in barium and aluminum and different things.
Is that what, like, when Sister White talks about, or no, the Bible talks about, or is it Sister White?
Sister White about poisoning the skies.
Well, about the tainted air. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is
the tainted
Ellen White.
air. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what she said.
Well, I actually think that it causes babies to be special.
The
The autism?
heavy metals, they like get into the brain and cause some like social and social, maybe social's not, like issues with behavioral issues. A lot of vaccines and stuff have those heavy metals too, and
Yeah.
like areas of people like the Amish or Mennonites or those kinds of people that don't get vaccinated have like super insanely low like autism and Down syndrome rates,
And
stuff like that.
probably a nice, healthy, strong immune system as well.
Yeah, no, there's yeah. I mean, that's not to say like I'm not like an anti-vaxxer. I think that, like polio vaccines and yellow fever and all that stuff, throughout history, vaccines have really done a lot. But I think when we start adding like heavy metals and like all these fillers into it, or like even, I know not a whole lot about the COVID vaccine, but the rDNA, RNA kind of vaccines that like mess with your, genetics. I'm like, meh.
It's just so weird
think
with
so.
something that wasn't tested for that long, and it was rolled out right away. And then the media pushing it so much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They I remember on Father's Day they were having gun giveaways like lotteries for people who would get vaccinated. you know when they're
That
all
doesn't, that sounds,
yeah.
I'd almost do it for that.
that's kind of, well, it's like if, people are pushing for, to get rid of the guns.
I know. That's what I thought was
Oh,
insane.
so, yeah, that is insane.
And then
Well,
people in prison were actually offered half off their sentences for getting the vaccine. I mean, there's two. Yeah. So to me, it just smelled fishy from the beginning. They want me to take this way, way too bad.
Well, it was funny because I was talking to Framo actually yesterday about this too, and it's funny how we got this attitude in this country. It's almost like the spirit that Peter had when he drew the sword and he was ready to fight right then and there, but it was like the wrong kind of fight. And people nowadays are like, yeah, if the government, comes up against us, I'm going to take up arms and we'll fight the very last man. And then the government comes along, put your mask on, okay.
Yeah, I know, right? That's what I thought. I
And
thought.
it's just it's
Okay.
funny how all these people that you thought were going to stand and fight for the
You
right
gave so quickly.
they caved in so quickly, and
But they still say the same thing. They'll fight tooth and nail.
yeah, they're still saying the same thing.
I always knew because of Ellen White's writings, and Doug Batchelor had a dilly on Last Day events, that there was going to be some kind of chaos. They thought maybe not Agent Orange, but the anthrax or something that would cause the world to go into what happened with the COVID, and but it was the COVID. It was a flu. It wasn't even anthrax. It wasn't even a nuclear, war. It was a flu.
Well, I went ballistic on this whole thing. I actually had some videos taken down and on this channel because and they were threatening to take my whole channel down at one point. But I don't think it helped my views any. Let's put it that way.
Dude, the views.
But I was posting videos and I was getting when in just a few hours I was getting, 15, 20,000 views. And then all of a sudden, then boom, it would take it down. And then the next one would get a bunch of views and they'd take it down.
Yeah,
even
if it wasn't
quicker.
getting any views, they wouldn't have taken it down.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but ever since then, the channel's kind of suffered, and I just wonder if that's been a part of it. But this election that's coming up is, to me, is going to be, I think this is going to be the culmination of events, if you will, because we're having these, obviously there's a growing support for Donald Trump. And it's growing by the day, it seems. And even the far left liberals are leaning into it because the left has now gone too far. They've gone way too far with their wokeism, with their pushing of their agendas in the schools. And people are, quite frankly, sick of it.
Yeah, there's going to be a rubber band effect, kind of a whiplash back into the other direction. That's kind of what happened. I'm curious to see how extreme it's going to be because, what was it, in Russia and Nazi Germany, it's the same thing. They just went really hard left and then just whiplashed to the right so strongly that, we're putting all the Jews in concentration camps now.
And that's exactly, we know that's what's going to happen with this.
Yeah.
We know what to expect from it. And we know the mark of the beast, the Sunday law, and concentration camps.
I'm not so sure this is going to be like that, but we see it repeat itself. And, if I'm kind of visual, so I imagine like a graph or like a line, and each little spike gets higher and higher, right? And this could just be one of those peaks, right, before something happens. But we are going somewhere where things are going to get really bad. I don't know if this is going to be that one, but it is getting worse and worse. We're told I really like Walter Weiss, the way he talks about the king of the north and the king of the south.
Yep.
And that,
sitting at the same table.
Yeah, in that battle that happens, right?
Yeah.
That they're fighting against each other, but the king of the north ultimately wins. Which is Babylon, kind of that mixture of truth and error.
Which is the Pope.
Yeah, which exactly, the Pope is definitely holds that spirit for sure. But yeah, we'll see.
It's going to be a movement that's going to be easy to join because it's going to be a shift back to things which are right again.
Yeah,
it's
traditional
righting all the
conservative
wrongs.
values.
Yeah, and when you hear Christians talk, they talk like they want this earth to continue to live on the way it is, and in its former glory. You know what I'm saying? The phoenix rising from the ashes. We need to get back to the way America used to be at one time.
Make America great.
This is not going to happen, though.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Well,
it would be nice. I would love to see America great again.
Well,
I would
imagine when was America
really great?
Yeah. I hate
We've
to
always
say
had
it
a
like
problem.
that, because I don't want to sound like I'm.
God bless this country. He definitely blessed
He used
this
us
country.
for sure. He used us to spread Christianity. Definitely.
Yeah, we had freedom of religion. We had a church without a pope. We could follow God to the dictate of our own conscience. And that's why the forefathers made the Constitution. They tried to make it bulletproof because they know what happens when church and state come together again. Persecution and concentration camps.
Yeah.
And they tried to. This country was great, and God did bless it. You could tell by everything. We wanted nothing, I don't know. And I could see what the people want. They want what we used to have.
And that's really us as civilians, really. We see a different side to the United States than other countries do. We're treated, we reap the benefits, but other countries, their interactions with the United States aren't always that savory. And I think that very much fits into the prophetic image of the United States being the
Speaking like a dragon.
Yeah, the lamb that speaks like a dragon, right? At its core, it's innocent and conservative, and it's just a good thing, like the lamb. But its interactions with others are not that great.
It's forceful. It's very forceful.
Yeah.
The world police
whatever.
Force. We're about force. And then okay, we were lamb-like when it wasn't forced. We had freedom. We had freedom of choice of what we want to believe. If you want to believe in Muslim or Buddha, well, go ahead, you know. You believe in Jesus, then go ahead. But now it's going to be forced because the police of the world police, and when we get back to God, it's going to be the police of the church of getting back to God. Which one way?
So here's a thought that kind of like goes off of that a little bit. But so, the UN, right? The United Nations, where they're trying to have the whole world under one power, right? When thinking about that, everyone coming together in light of like prophecy, or particularly like the statue in Daniel, how the was it the iron and clay at the
toes,
at the
yeah,
feet.
yeah.
That makes me think that the one world coming together, like God's going to come before that actually happens, right? Before
Well, it
the
says they wouldn't
unification.
mingle together. They won't mingle together.
Yeah, like iron and clay don't mix,
Yeah.
but
Because they tried that, right? To make a one world
yeah. Well,
everything.
they're trying it now. They tried it. Hitler
Hitler,
tried it. Mussolini,
Napoleon, yeah, all of
Napoleon.
them.
All of these people tried
And it's
it.
always failed
Yeah,
because
because of that prophecy, that prophetic deal. And you look at how close they came. Like, for example, Hitler. I've been watching the Hitler channel or the History Channel lately a lot. And it's like, if Hitler would have only produced more U-boats, that would have done it.
No.
If he would have put more money into the ME-262 project, the jet, that would have changed the course of the war. But he didn't. If he would have, like the Tirpitz, the big battleship that stood in the way of, it was a blockade that was blockading the Russians from getting their supplies, they moved that boat. There was like 30 some attempts to sink that boat and they all failed. And then they moved it for some inexplicable reason over here to this side, and it made it more available to the RAF, the RAF bombers. And boom, they got it. And
Yep, some guy in Hitler's chain of command was like, "Yeah, I'm not down with what he just did. Let's move this boat."
well, yeah, that's probably what it was.
Yeah, some guy
influenced-
whose conscience was weighing on him.
Yeah.
And
he knew, and God works like that. He has people, like, in ancient Babylon, there was Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego that was counseling Nebuchadnezzar, that was talking into his ear, and because of that, Nebuchadnezzar became surrendered. He surrendered his life to God in his latter years. But
You didn't know that? Ben looked. You looked.
I was actually thinking about something else. My mind kind of wandered off. So
He looked right away. It's
Like,
what are you talking about?
I was just trying to get back into the group, rein my mind back in. That's what I was trying to do.
And mine does the same thing. It'll wander, and then I'll jump in, and it's totally out of context. But but we know that these world leaders are evil to the core, and because of the choices that they're making and the way the country's going, and what they're allowing to happen and to take place, the devil is very much in control of what's going on. At least on the surface, God is ultimately in charge overall.
But God has to allow it to happen for prophecy because it has to be
prophecy
fulfilled.
is being fulfilled.
And that's it. Satan is allowed to show his way, his fruits. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, we get to see him as well.
Yeah, but I believe we're very, very close. We're at the cusp of eternity right here.
Of course we are.
And we're being lulled to sleep by the media because if you watch the news, there really is no news to speak of.
News is so garbage these days.
They've got a little basketball
brainwashed.
they're doing. They got the Hoda's little, perk of the day. And if you're watching CBN or NBC.
One of them,
But if you're watching
all the
Fox, then it's like everything's wrong with the world, but they don't have one single solution for it.
Yeah, Yep.
And it's all the fault of the left, and we all need to go right. And I don't know. To me, it's just a big theater.
Everything to
is.
take our mind off of
Yep.
the Lord
It's a
in a
theater.
way, and worry that about
And
the crap.
I don't trust Trump as far as I could throw him.
Me neither.
You know, I think he's in on it. He's Knights
course he
Templar.
is.
We know he is. He's a very high-ranking Knights Templar.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably a Mason as well, because I don't think there's been a president since Lincoln that hasn't been a Mason. You know,
I think.
You gonna talk? You gonna talk?
Yeah,
Well, then talk,
yeah. Then push the button.
please.
I hate my voice.
Just do it.
I think partly of the schools and them showing how to be with the same sex partner or all that kind of stuff. I think that's ushering in. I think the devil doesn't have enough time, and I think it's ushering in a decision, even on these small children. And everyone right now is being weighed for who they are. It's either they're going to go towards God or towards Satan. And that's why the big hurry. They're even starting in elementary school.
So I wonder, is this the harvest time like you were talking about before? Between the wheat and the tares? I think so too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're told there's going to be a big falling out of the church, the shaking, and I think that's like the line is being drawn.
I think there's a judgment going on, a pre-Advent judgment for all of us, and that, to me, might have part of the dividing the wheat from the tares.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, things are getting hard. We're told that if it were possible, even the very elect would be deceived. So apparently there's protection over the very elect. But who are the very elect, and what must we do to be a part of that, is the real big question.
I believe surrender everything to Jesus and you'll be part of it,
But
Just surrender to him.
But all religions say that, right? All religions
But
say
if
that.
if you're true, you're going to get into your word, and you're going to find truth, and the Spirit's going to lead you. There's a difference between lip service and real service.
Yeah. Well, and what did the lesson say? The Sabbath school lesson this week, it talks about fearing God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to fear God means to literally do the things that God has asked us to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we can't throw out. I mean, this has been a real big theme in my life. Just reading a lot of Paul's writings, and a big thing I had to come to recently is very transformative, is realizing my freedom from sin. Right, realize that I've been free from that. I'm free from the condemnation of it, and that was very. I had for a brief moment, I had to stop thinking about like the sins in my life. I had to like let them go, and even if I committed those sins, often I'd find myself doing something wrong and then just being weighed down by the guilt because I'm holding on to like the fear of condemnation, or I'm just holding on to what I did, right, and not relinquishing it.
But couldn't you use that as like, well, to push you to say, man, I really don't want to do it again?
Well, and that's the thing. That's the thing that happened that I didn't know was going to happen. Like at first I was like, it says we're free from sin. And I had to let go of a lot of me holding on to like the commandments or like, right, that kind of a thing. But then what it led to was me having a deeper understanding of who Jesus is and what he did. And then the desire to be more like him sprung
Amen.
up out of that.
Right there, that's it.
And
That's righteousness by faith.
a lot of people, a lot of Christians, I mean, there's two camps. There's the camp that says, well, like, we're gonna throw out the commandments. We're no longer under the law, right? And the other group's like, whoa, but what about, like, does that mean you could just do whatever you want? And then one group is like, we need to just like really focus on the commandments and the law and what we're told to do and our actions, because our actions are what matter. And they use verses like, without faith without works is dead and stuff like that. And the other group's like, but like that can easily turn into legalism, right? Just focusing on
Because
what you
grace,
have to
all
do.
what we need is grace. There's no more law. So there's nothing to go by anymore.
Yeah, and it's two groups focusing on a single idea. And the fact is that like us as Christians and us as a church, we're a building. Like I'm a building.
Yes.
There's a
a
foundation that needs to be laid. And then there's the walls that need to be built, and then the roof that needs to get put up. And then
that's the church I'm always talking about. The one he's talking about. That's the true church.
Yeah, that's the church. And I just would say, like, if you're out there and you're tend to lean towards one of those ideas or the other idea, and maybe one side triggers you, and like we're constantly being worked on, we're being built up, and that's going to take steps. There's going to be times where you're going to be like, I need to focus on like the fact that I'm free from my mistakes, that God freed me. And there's going to be times where you're going to need to focus on your like your character or your actions. Like there's going to be those times, but don't get stuck in one place. Like let the Spirit move you.
That's a good, well-rounded message. It's almost like, and Framo and I talk about this too. You can get fixated on acts. If you sin, now you're lost. So you got to hurry up and ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
So then you're saved again. And then you sin, and then you're lost. You got to hurry up and ask for forgiveness to get saved again.
No, but we're always saved. But
still,
I feel down when I do it. I feel down. I feel
guilt.
like,
yeah.
well, really, Ricky? Really? And was it really worth it? Was it really worth it, for the Lord? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, there's always a consequence to our actions.
Yeah.
And it's not tied to our salvation, but there's a consequence for everything you do. And I know in my life, I experienced that consequence, and it just reminds me of what I did, and that it wasn't where I wanted to go. It wasn't what I wanted to do. And a big part of it for myself is letting it go. Again, giving it to God.
Letting it go. Yeah.
Letting it go and move on. Move forward.
You got to give that sin to God, and that's where the righteousness by faith comes in. Because if you hang on to it, if you think like you have like this little period of time that you have to like agonize over it before it's okay to like move on, that's not righteousness by faith. That's righteousness by penance.
But I would feel so bad to be able to just sin and just well, I sinned, I don't know. To me, that don't seem right either.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's not. Well, it's not. But there's that balance. You have to have that balance. If you sin, you should feel bad for it. And then you should seek God's approval, not for the sin, but to
reconnect with Him.
Yeah, to reconnect with God, because our sins do separate us from God.
Yeah, and
it doesn't separate God from us. It's the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. And think about it. It grieves the Holy Spirit. It grieves the Holy Spirit who lives in you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're temples. We're given instruction on how to live, and we should strive for those lifestyles, and we should do that. But I like the way Ben said it. It's a building. We're building it from the bottom up.
That is the church, though. I loved how he said that, because that's the true church.
So this makes me think of another story. There was a time in my life where things were pretty dark for various reasons, and I decided just out of the blue, I've never read Pilgrim's Progress, so I'm going to read Pilgrim's Progress. And I started reading it, and there's a point in there when Christian ends up going to this house, and this guy's leading him through this house, and there's a man, and he's inside of a cage. And the owner of the house, or Christian asks the owner, like, what's up with this guy? He's in a cage, and there's, like, no door. He's, like, inside of the cage. And this guy's like, so this is a guy who was a Christian who believes that he's entrapped by his sin, that he can't get out of his sin. And he is. As long as he believes that he's trapped there, he will not leave. He cannot get out of that box. As long as he believes it. And man, it freaked me out. I put the book down. I almost threw it across the room. It completely freaked me out. And what I realized is I am that man. I'm that man who believes that because I can't, escape my addictions or whatever it was at the time, that I'm trapped and that I'm unsavable. And what man, it was like hours. I was like crying for hours in the shower, just like standing there, just bawling. And then the thought came to me. I think it was the Spirit saying, like, regardless of how you feel, you need to believe what I say about you.
Amen.
You need to believe that I've saved you. You need to believe that you're free. And at first I was like, okay, I'm just going to believe it. I didn't feel it. But the result of that was profound. It was freedom.
That was the transformational process
Amen.
that you went through. And that's it. When we don't really believe that we're saved, then what's the point of going forward with God? But if we are saved and now he has redeemed us and we believe this now, then that's transformative. That shapes who we are in the future, because you're no longer a child of the world, you're a child of God. And understanding that you're going to make mistakes and you're going to slip and you're going to fall. A slip and a fall is way different than a turning your back on God.
Yeah.
And we all slip and we all fall.
Yeah.
But to turn our back on God that's something entirely different than a slip and a fall, because we know that if we sin, we have an advocate in the Father, that is Jesus Christ. But by sinning and putting God to open shame, that's a turning our back on God, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But guess what, guys? We're out of time.
It's time.
Yeah,
All right.
once again. So thanks for watching, folks. Hit that subscribe, hit that like, and follow us on some of our other platforms as well. prophecymontana@gmail.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.